I don't think you understand. For Kirby Amiibo, I will make room. There's a game design term that I have a long-held grudge against. Gameplay loop. You might have heard gameplay loop used by podcasters to explain why Arc Raiders is actually brilliant. Here's a chart on Wikipedia, which is nice because it's free to use. It's just playing Diablo. You kill something, you get rewards, you get stronger. Why do you want to be stronger? So you can kill more things, to get more rewards, to become stronger, to kill more things, to get more rewards, to become stronger. Not sure why in this visualization anticipation is the point in which we get dopamine. It's all dopamine. It's a loop of dopamine. My personal beef with gameplay loop just comes from its extended usage. It's overextended usage that it can just apply to any single video game ever. If you simplify things enough, they all have a core loop, if you think about it. And it's maybe not the case for all games, and it's certainly not helpful for all games. Some games just progress in a lot of different directions. And it's not just like a repeated action always means a loop, right? Chapters of a book aren't loops. Episodes of a TV show aren't loops. I hope the TV podcasters aren't talking about TV loops. Love the core loop of The Bear. It's a loop because every episode starts, then there's drama, and then it concludes. It's a loop. It's a loop. It's not a loop. It's not always a loop. So even if we're talking about a TV show where the same things happen every episode, like Family Feud, it's more of a repeated arc than a loop, right? It's not like Steve Harvey is using the family's winnings to enhance his abilities every week, despite how cool that would be. That said, a lot of games are definitely loops. Gameplay loopy at their core, this to this to this, so you can this to this to this, so you can this to this to this, forever, all night long, all weekend long, for the rest of the next 5 years. And if you're wondering why I've been preambling about this for so long, here's my hot take this week. I'm surprised by how cheap the game design of Splatoon Raiders is. And when I say cheap, I don't mean as in low budget or low effort or low quality. I mean cheap more in the gaming sense. You know, cheesy, exploitative, as in, bro, you're spamming dopamine. Splatoon is, no question, a top-tier Nintendo franchise at this point. Splatoon Raiders is a spin-off. They want to make this clear. It's a spin-off.
The first ever Splatoon spin-off game.
Naturally, you'd ask, what's the difference? What makes it new? Well, in this game, you hunt for treasure in a single-player focused adventure. It's a phrase the marketing seems to repeat a lot, single-player focused adventure.
A new single-player focused adventure.
But it's a loop game. It's a game about doing the loop. Kill monsters, get resources, upgrade. So why call it a single-player focused adventure? It's like calling a Ninja Turtles arcade game a single-player focused adventure. It's very clearly better with buddies. I think it's just to differentiate it from the eventual Splatoon 4, which will have the PvP modes, which will be more multiplayer focused. But maybe it's also just because we don't have a good word for looter shooters. Maybe looter shooter sounds bad, but that's what it is. Splatoon Raiders is a game where you acquire weapons from random drops and they have color-coded rarity. You get what I'm talking about now, right? It's the kind of game where you will get a gold 4-star water jug splatling and you'll feel invincible. And then 30 minutes later, that weapon will be of no use to you ever again because the freaking gray guns you're finding are stronger. It's that kind of game. It's the kind of game where if I want to reduce the cooldown of my Booyah Rang by 7%, I'm going to need to spend 7 Salivators plastic bags, 10 Scrappers glass windows, and 5,000 Spiralite shards. But even then, I might not be able to equip that gadget part until I spend a skill point to upgrade my gadget part slots. Though, obviously, because of my bad habits, I'm going to increase weapon damage by 10% every time before I spend anything on gadget part slots. It's that kind of game. And please don't mistake me here. I like Splatoon Raiders a lot. I like it maybe more than any other Splatoon game before it. I am, in fact, highly susceptible to this kind of game design. You ask me what I love in life? I love increasing weapon damage by 10%. I love it. I like Hades too. I still think about Marvel's Avengers. A few weeks ago, I got the platinum in this game called Realm of Ink. And nobody talks about this game. It's not a very good game. And look, I know this comes off as an unnecessary call out. This was a private conversation. But MinMax's Ben Hansen had the nerve to accuse me of liking Realm of Ink because it's Perv Town, USA. And I'm sure you agree with me here, that's uncalled for. Clearly, the game just has a nice loop. And I'm not even saying it's easy to design a game that's got a manipulative grind that constantly sparks dopamine. It's mind control, it's complicated. I am just saying it's rather un-Nintendo-like. In the Ask the Developer interview they put up, the team takes you behind the process of designing Splatoon Raiders. Originally, they had like a tower defense thing going, but as they were playing those prototypes, they determined it wasn't that fun because you weren't moving around that much. Splatoon's about movement. You turn into a squid. By the way, it's interesting they go into this stuff because there's gadgets in the final release that they kept from when this game was a tower defense prototype. So they kept iterating, and the next idea was, okay, what if we kept it basically the same as Salmon Run, that one mode from Splatoon 3, but, hear me out, we added abilities with cooldowns. And they were like, oh yeah, we got something. This rules. Everybody likes abilities with cooldowns. That's just innate to human nature at this point. Now, this part of the interview is actually super valuable. Here we got the game's producer, Seita Inoue, and the director, Yoshihiko Ito, talking about why it's fun. I think the satisfaction of playing Salmon Run comes from how you start moving the instant you think. So it's like you're sort of thinking, but sort of not. Or rather, you react before you think. In sports, we often refer to being in the zone, and I thought that level of immersion might be really satisfying in a video game too. And it's not just sports. Busy jobs offer a similar sense of satisfaction, don't you think? Yes, that's right. We designed this game with the goal of creating an experience where players can feel that same sense of pleasant busyness. And I'd say they succeeded. The truth is, Splatoon Raiders does have a strong sense of pleasant busyness. And really, a lot of my favorite video games do involve constant decision making. We can call that pleasant busyness if we'd like. But what I'm getting at here is that they spend almost no time whatsoever talking about the loot grind being an actual core component of this game's design. In fact, I'd say they might honestly be dishonestly avoiding it. Here's Inoue. It's like witnessing highly trained professionals at work. For example, preparing food at a food truck or packing goods on a production line. It's like they're moving at superhuman speed, right? True artisans whose bodies seem to move naturally. But even they started out as beginners and, through steady practice, eventually reached a level that looks superhuman to us. This game is no different. You start off with simple gadgets and gradually expand your capabilities as you grow more comfortable. By repeating this process, you'll eventually reach a point where you can perform actions that seem almost impossible. I mean, yeah, kind of that, but also, I increase my HP with skill points. I expand my capabilities with Flyfish's bins and Salty Tongue's buckets. In fact, I like this. Ito, the director, had to chime in immediately after that, just to say, by strengthening both their equipment and their own skill level in this way, we believe players will eventually become what we call the ultimate multitasker. And if you take a moment to visualize the ultimate multitasker, I'm going to guess you're not thinking about somebody who is playing Splatoon. It's the analogies they use. The food preparer, the athlete, the busy job. Those things, they get me thinking about video games' role in approximating satisfaction in what might otherwise be tangibly fulfilling real-life activities. But you know what? I think it might be best if we don't dwell on that right now. Those are not good thoughts. That's delayed input for this week. I'll be back next week. Until then, thanks for watching. When you're making videos like this, one thing you got to be careful about is making an offhanded joke that becomes too distracting. Something where the entire audience is just thinking about that while you've moved on and you're talking about other things. I'm sure we're all still thinking about it at this point. What if Steve Harvey did become stronger at the end of every Family Feud? It would be cool, right? So I got a few ideas. These are entirely free pitches to Debmar Mercury, who we all know is the distributor of Family Feud. All right, number one, at the end of every episode, the family may choose to give half of their money to Steve Harvey. And I know that sounds crazy because Steve Harvey is already fairly wealthy, but he can only use this gifted money on the show itself. Like he could buy himself like a tall side table for him to put his tea on. Or for instance, he could buy like a big funny dog who hangs out in the corner of every episode. Number 2, if the family decides for some reason to keep all of their money, Steve Harvey may select one of 3 random power-ups that will carry over into the next episode. Represented, of course, with 3 cards. Imagine things like, next time, 4 categories will have some sort of suggestive innuendo. That's easy money. That is guaranteed silly reactions for Mr. Steve Harvey. You could get 2 jokes written by Jimmy Fallon's monologue team. Or how about the ability to pause the game once at any point and go talk to the big funny dog for a second? Third idea, HP. So every wrong answer, meaning every time the family makes a guess and it's 0 points, every time there's a red X on the screen, Steve Harvey will lose hit points. This will obviously make him more invested in the contestant's success, but also it'll give him some other incentive to use some of his free bonuses on heals. And I know it's not like I'm not like a dark joke here. Like obviously, if his HP reaches 0, it's not like Steve Harvey dies, but he will forever be replaced by one of Mr. Beast's friends. One of those guys. So it's still bad. Debmar Mercury, call me.